其他的身体维持法律，一切众生情愿妙法律，要导我们入得了生。我是一故的入的无生，
为了
三
三
个
大为
为
贵
无
之，
知
for
out
the
of compassion,
for
for
the
the
sake
sake
of
of
this
this assembly
assembly
and
and
all
all
living
living
beings,
beings,
listen the
wonderful
wonderful Dharma
Dharma
will
will
to
to
teach
teach
us
us
how to
how to
live
live
suffering,
suffering,
but in this and birth and death, and quickly realize
our
number.
birth. 南无善男多苏杰多耶，阿拉诃地三藐三菩提。南无善男多苏杰多耶，诃地三藐三菩提。南无善男多苏杰多耶，阿拉诃地三藐三菩提。南无本师释迦牟尼佛。南无本师释迦牟尼佛。南无本师释迦牟尼佛。诸佛菩萨、诸上人、各位法师、各位善知识，阿弥陀佛。
So all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, forever Master Shanghua, all the Dharma Master, and all the Buddha Master, 阿弥陀佛。
我这个好像少了两段，明天给它补上。我们继续今天讲这个八识规矩颂。
So tonight we shall continue to investigate these the verses on these 8 consensus, the rules, the guiding principle.
现在是到相应心所的最后一部分。
So now we're in this area of this Dharma, which is interactive with the mind.
那他这里就讲，他是关于第八识的。他说二乘不了一彼子，就是二乘人呢，他们对这个第八识的存在不了解。
So now we are in this 8 consensus. There's a verses on that which is because of the confused attachment. Those of the 2 vehicles don't comprehend it. So these 2 vehicles we are referring to the sound hearer as well as the Pachiko Buddha. Because of their cultivation, they does not understand or comprehend the existence of these 8 consensus and its function as well.
所以他不认为说第八识是存在的。
So they deny the existence of the 8 consensus.
因为迷执就是他们对法的迷惑跟执着。
Because they still have attachment to the Dharma and they still have the confusion about the Dharma.
因为二乘人他们对我执，如果他们修到有程度的话，我执是消了，但是法执他们没有办法消。
So when this Theravada school of practitioners, such as Sound Hearer and the Pachika Buddha practice, when they have really practiced up to certain level, they are able to eradicate the view of the eye. But anyhow, they still cannot break the attachment to the Dharma.
所以就由此人心论主争，就是这些论主呢就会来都会来争论讨论。
So you have these verses, which is, and based upon those attachments, there arises the dispute of the Sastra master. So with these verses, we realize that because of their understanding about the 8 consensus, then that arises the dispute among the school of the Buddhism, be it among the Theravada as well as the other school, like the great vehicle of the Mahayana.
那他们的激烈的争论各部论的，就是说，比方小乘的啊，就是说一切有部、精量部等的，都否认这个阿赖耶识是存在的。
So whether they are the conservative school or whether they are actually the more what we call modernized school, or then all kinds of the sutra and all kinds of the discourse, they all has been denying the existence of this alaya, which is an 8 consistency.
那只有大乘的唯识宗坚持它存在。
So only the great leader of this consciousness only, the school of consciousness only, they actually remain believe deeply with the assistance of the eight consciousness, which is the alaya.
那在成唯识论里面，就是有讲到有10个理由可以证明第八识是存在的。
So if this Chen Wei Si Lun, they have actually 10 kinds of the reason to actually to realize that truly there's assistance of this eight consciousness, which is the alaya consciousness.
那我们这里讲3个就好了。我们
So we only look into the 3 shall do.
那第一个就持种心，持种心就是说，大乘的论师他认为我们生命的现象有过去、跟现在、跟未来3世的轮回。
So the first one is holding the seed mind. That means to say, in their understanding, the scholar will say that about the life, actually, the phenomena of the life, in fact, comprises of the past, the present, and future. And therefore, truly, this reincarnation exists. So that is based on the deduction for the 8 consciousness.
那这一点呢，小乘其实也认为生命会有能够相续是有业力的关系。
So this is the same understanding as the Theravada school of practice, because they believe that there's a continuation of the life existence. That is because the karma do exist.
那因为我们是业力的连续，所以我们会延续下去。那业力要下去，就延续下去，就一定要有人来支持这个业力。
So you see the existence of the karma do really what to say have this energy of this reincarnation. But what is the forces that behind this what do you call the karma? So now we shall talk about that.
那业力本身它是刹那生灭的，你现在造了它，现在造升起来，那过了就没了，它是生灭的。那我们怎么让它保存下来？
So this karma, in fact, is happening in moment to moment. It's so dynamic and so volatile. And how can we maintain it?
所以一定要有人要把它保存下来。那保存的功能就不可能是第6识。
So there must be some energy or somebody or something, some substance to sustain it. Of course, we are not referring to the 6 consciousness.
那因为第6识它也是生灭的。
Because of these 6 consciousness also subject to falling and rising. That means to say existing and what we call the extinction.
那因为我们这一期生命结束了，第6识也结束了。
So for instance, in this very life, we have this body, but when we come to the end of the life, then what about our consciousness, the 6 consciousness? So the 6 consciousness will cease together when our body, what do you call the body, decay or die.
所以不可能用第6识，所以就必须要有个恒常现行的事来保存。
So that is to say that it's impossible that the 6 consciousness is providing the support for the existence of karma. It should be some substance that which is permanent, eternal to support this existence of the karma power.
这个事呢，一定能够汲取所有的业种，说善恶的业种，这样3世因果才能够建立起来。
So this substance must be comprises of all kinds of the seed, including like the wholesome, unwholesome, or neutral, so that this energy will be pervade from the past, the present, as well as the future in the 3 period of the time.
那这个就只有第8识可以做得到。
So that is only one conclusion. That means to say it must be the 8 consciousness who support the karma power.
那第2个去身体，去身体的意思就是说，你这一生，我们3界果报一定要有一个依止的主体。
So this the body of the object and of rebirth. You see to say that this our rewards or retribution in these 3 realms, the sensual realm, the rupa realm, and arupa realm. For us to have this retribution or the reward, it might be something to depend on some substance. So we are referring to the 8 consciousness.
比方说，我们一个人积极的升天的三善道好了，那因为现在马上升天或者造恶报，那这个生命的事呢是在这一期的，那你怎么去到下一世？ 所以一定要有个第八识来指使继续下去。
So, for instance, if you want to be reborn in the heavenly beings, or maybe you go downfall to the three woeful state, then this rebirth power, then how can we actually extend to the next life? There must be some forces behind. So that is the substance we are referring to.
所以这是果报，就我们这一期生命没有结束，它是不会，就是有个第八识来保持我们的生命体。
So that is to say that it must be the eight consciousness to maintain the flow of the existence of the life, to carry from one life to another life.
像比方说如果你活着的话，你一定有第八识。
So for instance, when we are still alive, we should definitely have this eight consciousness.
人家我昏迷了，我死都没有，但是你昏迷了没有死，就是因为还有第八识在。
So you see, when a person like collapse or coma, but it doesn't die, pronounced dead. Why? Because the eight consciousness still exists.
所以第八识就支持我们的生命让我们生命保持住，没有坏。
So bear in mind that it is the eight consciousness that maintain our life form in this very life.
那受卵识呢？其实受卵识这个是大小圣都共许的。
So about this longevity and warmth, this is a common denominator among the school of the Mahayana as well as the Theravada, because both of these schools they agree to this understanding.
它这受跟卵跟我们有事，它一定同时都要存在的。
So you see about this longevity, that means the life form. There must be a form, there must be a warmth as well as the consciousness. So they support each other so that we still exist in this form in this very life.
你看你现在活的是不是身体是温暖的？
So what about your body currently? Does it have some certain degree of the warmness?
所以你只要保持寿命，你一定是有卵。
So in order for us to maintain our body, our life, then there must be certain degree of the warmness.
然后你有这样的话，你事还在吗？
So when we have this warmth, then only our consciousness can be walking.
所以呢，这个受卵识呢，只要有三个一定在，有一个在，其他两个也一定在。
So once we have one of them, then of course these three will exist concurrently.
那这个如果是第六识，它不可能，因为第六识在睡觉的时候，它就不起作用。
So it cannot be only like referring to the sixth consciousness, because the sixth consciousness doesn't active during in the dream state.
所以只有靠第八识。
So that's why you need this eight consciousness.
所以为什么第八识是有的，是存在的？
So that's why from that we make a deduction, we make a conclusion, truly exists of this eight consciousness.
这里有问题吗？这其实蛮重要的。其实今天讲的都蛮重要的。
So today what we discuss one is very important. So I think we have to pay attention to it.
再就一元，这个一元，这八识规矩上是没有讲到6、7、8，但是因为在第5式有讲到，那我们就把它全部都带过了。
So now we come to these are rules, the guiding principle, which is the condition, which we already mentioned for the 5 consciousness. Now we are looking into these 6 consciousness, 7 consciousness, as well as 8 consciousness for these condition rules.
那我做这个样子哦，这个就是前5是眼耳鼻舌身在用。前2式就这里眼耳鼻舌身这5个，它的这边是它的元1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8、9元，所以眼视9元身就有这9个。
So for the 5 consciousness, when we refer to the eye consciousness, you need the 9 kinds of condition. So it spells out in the chart, which is the organ, object, sequence. So of all this is you need the condition.
然后耳朵，因为它不需要明，因为耳朵它不用看，它不需要亮，它才，所以它没有明，就8个。
So for the ears, you only need 8 type of condition because you did not have the brightness, which is referring to the light.
那鼻子它不需要空间，鼻子跟舌头跟身体都不需要空间，所以它们是7个。
So for the nose and the tongue, you denote the brightness, which is the light, and as well as the space, because it's a direct contact to the smell and to the taste from your nose as well as your tongue.
那今天也讲6、7、8。
So now we are talking about the scope of this condition for the 6 consciousness, the 7 consciousness, and the 8 consciousness.
那第6意识呢？它有5个，为什么5个？
So for the 6 consciousness, they have 5 conditions.
一来因为它是心法，这3个都心法，它不需要空间，也不需要明亮。
So this is about the mind Dharma. So the mind Dharma is abstract. You don't have a physical substance. So that's why you need not to have this space as well as the brightness.
那它没有根，它没有所谓没有根，就是没有像眼耳鼻舌身那样实体的根。
So because it's a mind Dharma, you don't have the organ, you don't have the faculty. That's why we don't have it for these organs.
但是意有意根。
So these 6 consciousnesses, they have the object. Because if you capture any object, so that you will contemplate on it for the 6 consciousnesses.
那它的意根是第7识。
So these 6 consciousnesses is referring to the 7 consciousnesses.
然后它一定有8识，也有作意。
So they also have these 8 consciousnesses and the 7 consciousnesses, because it will have this activity of this inference, or they will make some analysis or some thinking process.
那莫那识呢？就莫那识第7识，它跟它的根是第8识，所以它的根就跑到这边来。
So for the manas, which is the 7 consciousness, which is the ego consciousness, they actually is referring to the 8 consciousness as the foundation.
那它不需要静，它不需要对静，因为它只对着第8识。
So they don't have the object, because the 7 consciousnesses will treat the 8 consciousnesses as the object, because these 7 consciousnesses is drawing the information from the 8 consciousness.
所以它静就是第8识，所以就放到这边来。
So because of that, you see the red dot for this tree.
然后它也不需要第6识。
And it also did not depend on the 6 consciousnesses as well.
因为第六识要靠它。
Because actually the 6 consciousnesses is under the influence of the 7 consciousnesses.
所以它们就只有三个圆。
That's why you have this 3 red dot on it.
它只有3个圆，它就可以构成莫那识。
So once you have these 3 conditions, the 7 consciousnesses will exist.
这是为什么我们这么容易有我执？3个圆我们就起了我执。
That's why you see how come everybody here have this ego of I, because it's easily exists. Yeah, all the condition is so easily easily exist, appear.
然后阿赖耶识呢，它有4个圆。
So for the 8 consciousness, which is the alaya, they have these 4 conditions.
因为它的根就是第7识，所以放在一起。
So actually, it's also these 8 consciousnesses also rely upon this 7 consciousness.
那它也不需要第6识来有，因为它是接收种子的。
Because it also doesn't rely upon the 6 consciousness. It's basically it's only receiving data and recording the data, which is the seed.
所以你看这里的有哪2样东西，每个识都要有。
So here we are referring to the consciousness, which one that also comprises of all the 9 conditions.
你看就是作意跟种子，对不对？
So you see from that, you see the condition for each of the consciousness. One is the seed as well as the attention.
所以一定要有作意跟一定要有种子，我们识才能够至少有这2个，我们识才能可能起来。
So for our working of this consciousness, you need the seed as well as the attention.
所以之前不是有人说，眼根不需要种子，它一定要种子。
So just before that, we discussed that when we talk about the existence of this object. Then if you are not able to see the object, that means to say you don't have the seed. If you can see the subject or object, that means there is a seed. So the existence of the seed is important for the existence of the information from the view from the side.
我们这个因缘就这样大概讲。
This is a very general introduction of these conditions.
再来就是这就是讲作用，这个作用是最重要的，因为我们必须要知道我们八识怎么对我们的心识的作用。
So now we talk about these functions of the consciousness, particularly the eight consciousness, because we want to know that how important and to what extent these functions mean for.
这样吗？这种拿掉。OK。它第六识是动身花以毒为罪，以满人遭业力牵。
So for the six consciousnesses, we have these verses in physical action and in spirit. It is the most important, and it also brings to the completion by its ability to summon forth the power of karma that leads to the rebirth.
那所谓动身花以毒为罪，就是我们第六识，它主导我们身心最重要的。
So you see, when you learn about these verses, it says that actually our sixth consciousness is a commanding officer. It's the most important because why? It is the one, the consciousness that gives instruction to our thinking, to our speech, as well as our body.
因为是它来驱动我们的身体做事情，它告诉我们要讲什么话，做什么事情。
So it is the driving force that makes us do anything. For instance, the speech. What are you going to say?
所以他因为这样叫我们讲，因为我们说话跟做事情是最容易造业的。
So because of the instruction, which is the driving force behind, which is the sixth consciousness, and and this is also because of this six consciousness that make us create the karma.
所以就是以满人遭业力牵。
So that's why we have these verses. It brings to completion by the ability to summon forth the power of karma that leads to the rebirth.
以满就是引业跟满业。
So this karma will bring forward the existence of the destiny, what you call the end result.
那所以引业是什么？引业就是它决定我们要到哪一个道。比方说我们现在是人道，那这些过去是我们做的事情，让那个引业是让我们到为人道。那如果我今生做的事情，是造很多恶业，会下地狱的话，那我们的引业就会让我们到地狱去，这就是引业。
So there is two terminology here. The first one is called the projecting karma. That means to say now we as a human being, that is because in a past life we have done something, the karma that support us to be born as a human being. Then what about in this current life? If we are doing something, the karma that support to have this downfall, maybe in the health destiny, then for sure we will be brought into the destination of the hell.
所以第六识的思维，第六识的决定，会造各种的业。
So from that we know that actually the kind of the level of this thinking, the contemplation power from these six consciousnesses will bring forth to any realm, be it in the lower and to the highest as well.
那满业呢，就是你投生以后，比方说都是人呢，但是每一个遭遇都不同。
So what do you mean by completing karma? Completing karma, that means to say your karma as a human being has been ripened. That means to say you has born as a human being. But when you are born as a human being, then you have different kinds of surrounding, different kinds of features as a human being. So that itself saying that the completing karma is talking about the specific scenario for the person rebirth.
那引业呢，通常是你造的业比较重。
So this projecting karma is the one which is having the heavy force of the karma. The energy is heavy force, so that will bring you or push you to be reborn into certain destiny.
那满业呢，就是让我们满业本身呢没有那么严重，它通常都是糊涂就无明所造成的。
So this completing karma not so heavy in comparison to the projecting karma, but that itself, the driving force behind is still due to the ignorance.
那因为这个样子成熟，这个业成熟以后，就会招感我们不同的别报，就是我们的满业。
So because of these two, then we have this manifestation of the karma. That's why we actually attract all kinds of the what you call the scenario in the sense that as a human being and so and so.
那引业有什么样的状况会造成我们的引业？
So now we want to say that what kind of this projecting karma that causes to have this and that, so and so.
它有5个。
So there are 5 who actually influence this projecting karma. That means to say this projecting karma is strong or weak or higher or lower level. So now we are investigating these 5.
那这5个其中1个就够了，不是每一个都要。
So it doesn't mean that you need to have all these 5. Once you have one which is very strong, that is good enough for you to have this projecting karma.
那意乐，第一个意乐故障就是很喜欢做，造业的时候很开心。
So the first one is called you are enjoying doing that kind of karma. So when you do it, you truly enjoy your strong passion into doing that.
那包括3个，第一个就是说他在做的时候，在还没做的之前呢，他很充满了期待。
So that itself not talking about the moment he's committing the karma, it also comprises the moment or the time, the period that before he committing this karma. That means to say he has something in the mind, then he is expecting something. That's why he says that enjoy of doing.
那在做的时候呢，他又很欢喜，他没有勉强，很自然的，他很爱去做。
So when he's doing the certain action, be it the good or bad, he so enjoy. He have no second thoughts of that.
那做完以后呢，他又很开心，也不后悔。
So once he have completing the karma, he still enjoy the what you call the fun, the process of doing that particular karma. And he doesn't feel any remorse.
这样的造的业就很重。
So this kind of karma, in fact, is very heavy.
那当然，这个业我们说业很重，不一定都是恶业。你照你喜欢的啊，我很喜欢，比方说啊，我很喜欢练经，还没去练经，我就很充满了期待。那练的时候练的也很开心，练完以后也不会很后悔。哎呀，好热啊，好累啊，都不会。这也是一样。
So when we refer this to this intentions of doing, it doesn't only applies to the bad karma. It applies same to the good karma. For instance, you come to this recitation Dharma assembly. So prior in attending to this assembly, you will have much anticipation that you want to enjoy, you want to do something, recite all this. So while you recite, you also really truly wholeheartedly involved. And after you recite, you say, wow, wonderful. This session is truly meaningful for me. So that itself is saying that you have this good karma of enjoying, of doing.
那第二个呢，就无字，无字就是没有对字。
So the second one is that once you do that particular thing, you're not trying to overcome it, no counteracting.
那其实我们犯错，或者我们知道，比方说，哎呀，我知道我这个很开心啊，我知道我这个很爱吃，这个都 OK。你知道不对的，你要想办法对治。如果你不想办法对治，它就越做越多，越做越严重。
So this is what we're referring to, that we need to have the awareness before change. Because when you have awareness about your weak point, then only you realize something, then you have the direction, you can improve. But when you don't have any awareness, then you will keep on doing, you keep on indulge, then it becomes worse and worse.
这就是完全不约束自己的身口意的造作。
So that means to say you are laxness and you have no self-discipline in the sense of the body, the speech, and the mind karma.
所以这个就是变成很重的意业。
So in other words, then it becomes a very heavy karma.
那邪执就是邪知邪见。
So the evil attachment is referring to the evil thinking, evil thoughts as well, the evil understanding.
你依止邪见来造业，这个业也是很重。
So when you do something based on your wrong understanding in seeing the truth or wrong view, then this is also considered a heavy karma.
为什么呢？因为你做这个时候，你认为是对的，没有惭愧心。
So why is it say so? Because when you do something which is wrong, but you don't have sense of sinfulness, you don't have sense of remorse, then that itself is evil, and that itself is dangerous and heavy karma.
而且邪知邪见有个问题，就是当你有邪知邪见，你认为是对的，你会告诉人家这个，你就帮人家也邪知邪见，这个更糟糕。
So another point is that when you have these evil thoughts or evil understanding, you will try to influence people. Then we might cause this problem, the blind leading the blind. So if you are blinded, but you are causing another person to be blinded, indeed this is a very heavy karma.
那在第4个就是由事情的事情，由事就是所做的事情。
So the fourth one is referring to that particular action, that particular matter. What are the action that you are doing? Be the giving action or whatever.
比方说前面3个都是讲我们的心态，这第4个就讲所做的事情。
So the first 3 are referring to the behavior. We are referring to attitude. The 4th one we are referring to the specific. That means that particular matter.
那就是我们造的事情，你做的事情是很上品的经验，就是比较严重的。
So that is referred to that the kind of the karma, the state. That means to say that particular specific. Is it a very heavy one, a very great one, or not that great one?
比方说对佛菩萨是上品的。
So when we say that the what you call the person that, for instance, you are doing like offering, then this is a higher grade of wholesomeness.
那还有对你的父母师长。
What about to your parents and to your elders? This is considered a good matter.
在这里讲，有些对父母，师长觉得我的父母对我不好，所以我不要孝顺他。有些人会有这种想法，我为什么要做这个？
So some of the people might have this wrong thinking. They say my parents have not been nice to me or been good or fair to me. Then why should I feel filial? So this is the wrong understanding.
其实我们今天会生在这个世界上，你会是由父母产生的。你没有父母，你就不会在这个世界上。
So bear in mind that when we are born into this human realm as a human, that is due to the condition from our parents.
所以呢，我们至少要不管他对你做了些什么，我至少要感谢他生下你，让你在这个世界上活。
So whether to what extent they are wrong, we must always be gratitude. The sense of gratitudeness is very, very important.
那你感谢他，你在这个世界上活，你就有机会，不管你的环境是什么，你就有机会往上走。
So once you have this sense of gratitudeness, then in this era, the Buddha Sasana, then you have chance to progress.
所以有善知识，有佛法很重要。
So you see, it's very, very important. We must be surrounded by the good advisor and also to have the Dharma.
那第5个就是加行固重。
So the 5th one is called matter stipend.
那加行就是说本来是这样，你再加重它。
So this is referring to the frequency, and you make it deeper and deeper. That means to say the action becomes stronger and stronger.
次数就是说你一直做，也许这个不是很重的罪，但是你一直做，那就变成重，就少，就是量变就变成质变。
So you see, maybe this action is not that serious, not that severe, but because you keep on repeating this kind of behavior, so once this repeating, it becomes the quantity, and the quantity will transform to become the quality. That means to say it become heavy.
所以那第2个呢，就不但我自己做，还教人家做。
So what's still that not only you are doing, you are influencing or teaching other people to do that kind of matters.
那这样的话也是变成重业。
So it becomes a heavy karma as well.
所以这5个都会造成我们的引业。
So these 5, bear in mind that it is to do with the projecting karma.
所以要很小心。
So you have to pay attention and be very careful and cautious about it.
那满业就是势力比较薄了，通常就是一些小习气，一些习气造成我们影响我们的果报。
So when we say about the completing karma, in refer to this projecting karma is much lesser importance of the degree. So it's also always referring to, like for instance, the kinds of the habit that we have, because this habit has been carried forward, it becomes the bonds for us. So it's still not that serious.
这个没东西。我现在给你看，这是满业的不同。你看这小孩很可爱吧？
So let me show you this completing karma example.
你看看这个，同样的是小孩子，在不同的地方。这个下面这个照片，这个小孩子后面一只秃鹰，是很有名的照片。这个好像在非洲那时候这个饥荒。那他们这个摄影记者他就去照，他就看到这个小孩子已经快死了，他在找吃的东西，然后那只秃鹰在后面等，因为秃鹰是等人死了他才会吃嘛，他等他，他知道他剩下最后一口气，所以他把它照下来。 得了普利兹奖。
So these three pictures, the baby is so cute, and the other two, the last one actually referring to it was taken in the Africa. You see this young little kid, is so starvation, maybe it's at the verge of the dying, and this eagle is waiting because he only wait for the victim to die, then will take it as his food already. So this photo has been taken, what do you call in the awards, received the awards.
那他得了奖以后，被人家骂的要死，为什么？
So this photographer has been scolded even though he got the prize. Why is it so?
因为他你急着照这个相，你怎么不去救这个小孩？
Why is it so that you're not saving this little kid, knowing that he's going to die soon?
那他其实有说，他看到有赶快照，然后就把他身上的东西给这小孩子吃。
So he did say yes because he said after taking the photo, quickly give the food from what he has.
但是一般都一直被批评。
So he has been condemned, has been critiqued all along.
然后到最后他自杀，几个月后他自杀。
So
摄影家。
So eventually, after a few months, the photographer commits suicide.
所以那些人批评也是造业，所以我们很容易造业。
So
有
those
时候我们认为我们对的，其实都不见得。
So those people who critique is also committing karma. So Dharma Master say that we human beings are easily commit the karma.
他的同事也一起去的，他同事说，其实我也有照其他像一样的照片，像类似，只是我没有得奖，他得奖这样子而已。
So another case is that he has a colleague also taking the photo, but he don't get the prize. So that is what happening. You see the different kind of the karma.
那这小孩子很可爱嘛，但是他坐在什么样的地方？
So
那这
this
小孩子在废墟里面。
So this little kid is so cute, but he's in this place whereby I think it's nothing left.
这个坐姿跟这个坐姿是不是一样？你看这个是多么漂亮、多么可爱的小孩。
So you see, have the same sitting posture, but it looks much cute and happier.
这是战争的照片。
So this is a photo taken in the war scenario.
那这个下面这个也是很有名的照片，这个是越战的时候。那这个女孩子呢，是因为她身上被炮弹打到烧了起来，她受不了，把衣服脱掉，一直跑，一直哭。那记者把她照了起来。
So this happens, and the low one is taken in the Vietnam War. So this little girl has been hit by the bomb. So because it's so hot, then he took off what do you call the cloth, and this is taken the photo during that time.
那听说她后来被一个美国一个夫妇收养。
So this little girl has been adopted by a American.
那这两个比较，你看这个小孩子有校车，有人接送，这个小孩子你看看，上学要这个样子。
So this is another comparison. The kid is so enjoying their school day, whereby they have somebody to send off to their school.
不知道是上学还是去郊游。
Don't know whether it's for a holiday or any trip.
那这个就很明显了，这个是家长开车送他上学校，这个就真的是上学了。哎呦，这太可怕了。
So these two sending off to school, the other one is near the edge. It is so
听说他
scary.
每天都要这样走。
I heard that they have to do it every day.
那这一样，我就用对比就可以看得出满页的不同。小孩子坐在地上玩积木，这个你看连坐的椅子都没有，要站着。他们手上拿的这个是木炭，应该是取暖的，但很冷。
So you see the two different kind of faith. So this is what we call the completing karma. So the one is you can enjoy the toy, the game, but the other one you have to stand here and be holding the charcoal, the fire charcoal.
这小孩子同样的年纪，这个拿枪，这个拿手机。
So you see these two, one is holding the handphone, the other one is holding an arm.
所以其实我们一直是算是在有福报的地方在住。当你看到别人这样的话，可以相信我们自己是有福报，我们过去做的满业还不错。
So by looking into those pictures, we should count our blessing. Maybe we have done a lot of good deeds, whereby we have this good competing karma, so we still can enjoy.
那动物也有啊，你看动物这个可爱，可见是有受到照顾。那这个就是一定是流浪狗。
So the stray dog, as well as the dog that who has a master, so it also applies same for the animal.
那这里呢，我很喜欢把这个拿出来给你们看。这个是英国女王，她经历过10几个总统，美国总统。我们可以从她年轻到老的，所以我叫她是流水的美国总统，铁打的英国女王。
So there is a saying on that the American presidents come and go, but the Queen of England remains forever. So you have gone through so many presidents for this United States of America, but the Queen of Elizabeth is always there. So I think she's the winner.
几乎我看好像每个美国总统都会去英国见这个英国女王。
So I think mostly all the president of USA, the states will visit the Queen of the England.
这个是1951年的杜鲁门出门。
So we started from this 1951, the Truman.
那这个是艾森豪。
And Eisenhower. Hoover.
Kennedy.
Yeah, Kennedy.
那再一个 Nixon， 还有福特总统、卡特总统、雷根。你看这么多总统，有些总统死了，有些总统得什么病，他一直都保持得很好。这个老布什，这个 Clinton， 这个小布什，这个奥巴马。
So some president passed away, some they actually contracted some disease.
那是最近的了，川普，还有拜登。你看就知道，你看他像这些总统，他们当了总统，虽然一国就是，但是他们要去竞选，要花钱，要跟人家吵架，要被骂，被什么的。他从生下来，他就是这个样子。你就可以知道，我们真的是每个人都不同，每个人命运是都不一样。
So you see, in order to be elected as a president, it takes a lot and a lot of resources. For instance, the money involved, the campaign, the energy, all system. But anyhow, you see the Queen of England is there for many decades. Then you see from there, you know that we have all different kinds of this karma, different kinds of the fate.
所以我们快乐跟痛苦，我们今生所受的各种快乐跟痛苦，受2种因素的影响。
So from there, we can make a conclusion that our happiness and sufferings are influenced by 2 factors.
一个是为事所现，一个是为事所变。
That is to say, the first one, the manifestation of the consciousness. The second one, the transformation of the consciousness.
这个为事所现就是我们的业力。
So the first one, we say the manifestation of the consciousness is referring to the karma power.
那这个事就是我们的第8识。
So what is this consciousness referring to? In fact, in this consciousness is referring to the 8 consciousness.
那这个第8识把我们的过去所善恶的业力所造成的隐业跟满业，如实的显现出这一生的身心世界来。
So from these 8 consciousness, we have planted many seeds, the seed of good and the seed of bad, the wholesome and the unwholesome. So from this seed, the 8 consciousness will have this manifestation. The manifestation of the enjoyment, the happiness as well as the suffering in terms of reward and in terms of retribution. And this is the part we have to acknowledge it.
所以这一点呢，我们就只有认命，没有别的办法，因为你被生下来就是这样。
So this is the part whereby you can't do much and you have just to accept it and admit it.
那第2个为事所变，这个事呢，就是我们第6识。
So the second part is called the transformation of the consciousness, and this consciousness we are referring to the 6th consciousness.
所以当我们比方说我们今天受到什么业力，那我们第六识接触的时候，我们开始是我碰到的我们没有分别，但是马上第二刹那我们就开始思考，就有分别了。
So you see this consciousness that when in contact with the certain experiences, when we are referring to the karma power, I mean, be the object of particular experience, the first moment when in contact, this is called the direct contact. When the direct contact or direct perception, there's no interference, there's no discrimination. But the problem is that after the first moment, the second, the flip of second, we start to think. And when you start to think, things will change. This is what we're referring to transformation of the consciousness.
所以开始我们第六识开始想，那开始要主导，就是想我要怎么做。那我要怎么做，就会我们身体啊，外面就会产生变化，跟着你的想法去。那这个就有可能好，有可能不好。
So after the first thought, the first moment, you have the second moment, then you start to do. This is the thinking process, the analysis. So from the thinking process or analytical mind, the decision make, things will change eventually from the external. It can be better or it can be worse.
所以你会变得更好，变得更不好，或者更糟糕，这个是我们自己可以控制。
So this is something that you can master. Why? Because once you make a right decision, then things can be better. Once you make a wrong decision, things can become worse. So this is the part whereby we are in charge, we are in control.
所以，比方说我们有病，我们每个人多少都会身体不舒服，我们用什么态度去面对？
A very good example is that when we fall sick, what kind of attitude that we have in facing our illness? Because we used to fall sick because we, as ordinary people, this is quite common.
怎么办？
Then how?
你有病的话，你怎么面对？你有没有病过？有，那你怎么面对？不要执着。还有人用什么方法面对？我跟你们讲一个故事啊，就古时候一个禅师，他是有成就的，就是开悟的圣者。那他生病啊，禅师也会生病啊。那他生病了，他就很痛，他就哎呦，整天就喊痛啊痛啊痛啊，很烦。
So let me share a story and how are we going to face the illness when we fall sick. So there's a story about Zen master. So this Zen master is quite a real practitioner that maybe considered as certified to the enlightenment. So he falls sick and then he has this pain. Then he say, oh, it's mumbling. Oh, so pain, so pain.
那他整天就很痛啊痛啊，他的侍者也没办法，就尽量宽慰他，但是他还是很痛。那因为他是一个住持嘛，那当然人家知道他生病了，就会来看他。
So the assistant, the kapia, also try to comfort him, but he's still pain. And because he's the airport, is a manager there, then people will come and visit him.
然后他的侍者就跟他讲说，谁谁谁要来看你的，你不要叫那么大声啊。
So the assistant, the kapia said that somebody going to visit you. Maybe you can lower your voice on the pain.
结果他叫得更大声。
Then he make it louder some more because of the pain.
然后那个侍者就很受不了，他说：“老和尚，你人家来看你，你不要叫那么大声。”可是他不管，还一直叫得很大声。
So the assistant trying to ask the master to lower down the voice, but the master doing the other way around.
然后这个侍者说：“老和尚，你不是开悟了吗？你怎么还会痛呢？”
So he said, hey, since you already enlightened, how come you still can experience the pain?
那这个老和尚就说：“你难道不知道我有一个不开悟的我，不痛的我？”
Oh, then the answer from the master he says that how can you know that there's a part whereby I have no pain?
他这样一讲，但他其实就在度化他的侍者就开悟。
So actually, the conversation is trying to enlighten the disciple, the assistant. So the conversation, in fact, is try to trigger so that you will go into the enlightenment for this assistant.
那你们呢？有没有什么没有开会啊？有什么感想没有？对这个问题，对这个答案？
Any realization or any thoughts?
像其实你昨天讲，我才想到这个故事。我们都有像他感到痛，或感到热、感到冷，都是我们觉受想行识的时候，我们都会，我们碰到什么事情，我们都会有觉受。
So we, as a human being, we have this feeling, the aggregate. So when we come across any contact, then we might have this feeling, the touch or anything. We have the sense arises.
那在邓元基讲是说见闻觉知，见闻觉知包括我们，其实包括我们，唯识所讲的所有的视线。
So actually, it's referring to the 见闻觉知. That means the seeing, the hearing, the awakening, and the acknowledgement. In fact, this four 见闻觉知 is comprises of all the myriad dharma which we are discussing in this consciousness only.
那我们会觉得痛，是因为我们身体受苦。
So when we feel pain, because our body is experiencing the suffering.
但是我们的见性就是在我们这个身体的那个见性呢，是不会痛，也不会苦。
So in the true substance of our own self, we have this nature. This nature is called the seeing nature, and this seeing nature part doesn't experience any suffering or any pain.
跟那个觉性一样，我虽然有这个觉受，但我觉受的这个性是不痛。
It also applies on this awakening nature. The nature itself has this awakening, but this awakening doesn't experience any pain.
所以我们常常就要把我们的往外的受，退到那个性上面。
So you see, from there we know that because we are chasing the external world, when we're chasing the external world, that means the 6 kinds of objects, 6 kinds of the dust, then we should learn how to bring it back. And bring it back to what? Towards inwards ourselves, which is the part on the nature. That is the direction.
它就好像这个板一样，只是我们这个东西打在上面，它本身这个实爱没有了，它就没有。所以我们的见闻觉知就像这个实爱一样，打到这个screen 上面。那 screen 本身它只是接收，它没有感觉的。如果我们在这里看啊，什么感觉不一样。所以我们要把我们的心当成这样。
So you see, we have this projector board. This projector board is taking the image from the projector. So the projector will project the image towards this, what you call the projector board. But does it mean that this projector board has any feeling? No, because when these images cease, then no more. So we should actually learn to behave like this projector board, because it will come and go, but this have no any effect on the projector board.
到目前没有问题。
Any question? 那法师就要修行哦，不然见不到性哦。
啊？
要修行才可以啊，讲是讲，还是要修，不然见不到这个见闻觉知的性。
对呀，当然要修。因为我们现在见不到，我们都往外。那我们就要往性里面看，就是我们平时就是要把身心都留在性这方面，而不是对外。
So the direction of learning the Buddha Dharma is that we don't chase the external. We should have self-reflect and going inwards toward ourselves. That means we are going towards not only the mind and the body, but further, which is the nature part. That is the direction of the cultivation.
这是不容易，因为我们的习惯就是这样，我习惯就是往外。
So why is it so challenging and difficult? Because we used to do that. That is our habit. We are chasing external. That means we are paying focus on the external thing rather than inwards the nature part.
但是我们知道有这个方向可以走。
So the important point is that we know that this is the direction, and this is the direction we should head.
然后再来就是，这个第七式的作用，它就是第七式是恒审思量抹香水。
So now we have these verses on the 7 consciousness. It continuously focuses mental activity on inquiry, which result in the characteristic that is self.
它第七式是恒审，它恒就是不间断的一直做，一直做。
So you see, when we talk about the 7 consciousness, that means this activity of consciousness is continuum. That means it's continue. It will never stop. This process is that means the activity of the 7 consciousness is always continue.
那很审呢，审就审视，它永远的就是很仔细的在审查。
So what does he do? He try to examine, try to give meaning, try to check. He have this function.
所以他就才会认为说，哦，我这个第八式的这些都是我的。
So he will take the information that has been collected in the 8 consciousness, which is the alaya, as his own. That means to say, he gives rise to the idea of the I. Then he have this manifestation of the conceit of the ego. Then it says that it follows with self. So that is the process of what we call this from these verses.
所以他思考，他想来想去就是我香水，就永远是我啊，我的这样。
So these 7 consciousnesses have always seen things in one direction with one perception. That means to say the idea of the I is always exists. When there's the idea of I, then you have this manipulation, you have this control, you have this master.
那这里一个表哦，这个是前5式，这个第6式。
So this is a chart on the comparison for the 5 consciousness, 6 consciousness, 7 consciousness, as well as the 8 consciousness, which for the part of continuously on focus. That means to say the 5 consciousness have this continuously or the focus element or not. That Dharma Master will explain.
所以前5式它不恒也不审。
So when you see this chart, it says that the 5 consciousness have this element. That means it's not continue. And it doesn't give rise to the thinking process. It never check and balance one.
因为它是限量嘛，它只是第6式叫他做什么，然后他也只是有什么资料他收起来，不需要他做事他就不用做，所以他不恒也不审。
So he only have this direct perception, contact, pick up the information. He got the instruction from the 6 consciousness. That's it. That's why it's not continuous and not check and balance or focus.
那第6式呢？他不恒，但他审。他为什么不恒？因为他有时候睡觉啊，有时候打坐啊，有时候做什么事情，他不是永远都是在审视的。
So for the 6 consciousness, for the continuously, it doesn't happen all the time. Because sometimes can be fall asleep, maybe in the meditation state which is in the absorption mind. So for this, it doesn't continuously active. But for the focus, yet it is because it's always have this inference, giving meaning. That's what we learned before.
那第7式呢？它就是又恒又审。
So for the 7, then we learn that it's always happening and also always have the idea of I, which because it check, we have this checking in this and also this discrimination.
所以他一直都是在分别啊，这个是我的，这个不是我的，都是在分别。
So they always see things from the perspectives of I, my own view, my thing. So all this kind of idea give rise to the idea of I.
那第8式他就是有恒但不审，因为他不管啊，你好的来不好的来，他都接受，宗旨他都接受，所以他不审，但是他一直都在。
So these 8 consciousness have this element of continuity because from moment to moment always pick up the information of the seed. That means it can be a good seed, it can be an evil seed, or it can become a neutral seed. But because of he has this no indifference or this discrimination, it will never go and check it out or this focus. It just accept and collect the data. That's it.
这个我要弄掉开始。有其日月正昏迷还是第7式？
So when we talk about these 7 consciousness, we have another process which is day and night, it receives the sentiment based in the state of confusion.
因为他一直永远不断的说这是我的，我这样跟自己讲，白天黑夜都在浑浑噩噩都在迷失的方向，所以说日夜正分都在波波里里。
So from these verses, we know that actually we living beings are subject to this ignorance, to the delusion that we have been day and night in the sense of this loop-sided. Why? Because due to the wrong understanding. The wrong understanding of what? That means the wrong understanding the idea of I. And because of this I, we see things loop-sided and we cannot see clearly that it is. We cannot see the real nature as well.
有没有？是或八大相应起。
So now we come to another verses, which is the four delusion and the eight major great derivative afflictions arise interacting with it.
因为他见八识都是我的，所以就产生了我相，所以就有我贪、我痴、我见、我慢四惑。
So these seven consciousnesses will collect the affiliate the part of the eight consciousnesses. And from that, it gives rise to the idea of I. And this idea of I will have these four fundamental of delusion, which are the greed, ignorance, self-view, and arrogance.
那这八大随烦恼也是因为有我的关系而产生的。
So these eight major greed also due to the idea of I. That's why we give rise to lack of faith, laziness, laxness, torpor, restlessness, distraction, improper knowledge, and scatteredness.
所以它就相应起两个人就互相就起来了。
So these seven consciousnesses have very strong interaction among these eight major greed as well as the four delusion.
起来以后就是六转忽为染净因。
So then we have these verses on when the six consciousness is functioning, the seven is called the basics of defilement and purity.
所以呢，它因为前面的眼耳鼻六转世嘛，都会变成染污或清净的，都是因为这个第七世。
So you see, we have these five consciousnesses. That means to say the eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose, the tongue, and the body consciousness, including the mind consciousness, which is the sixth consciousness. It can be either be defiled or become pure. Why? Because it all depends on the seven consciousnesses.
那因为他第六世靠这个第七世，所以第六世不但自己起烦恼，第七世不但自己起烦恼，还也让第六世跟着起烦恼。
So you see, they have this influence from what? The seven consciousnesses in influencing the six consciousnesses. Why? Because the seven consciousnesses have this defilement because it gives rise to the idea of the I.
所以第七世叫意根，它就是第六世的根。
老师再讲一次。
第七世叫意根嘛，所以它是第六世的根，第六世是意识。
Okay, so this seven has been, the seven consciousness has a support to the six consciousness because it is a foundation. How does the six consciousness is working? So the six consciousness is rely upon this seven consciousness, either be pure or be defiled.
那是第八世。
Now we talk about the eight consciousness.
那是浩浩三常不可求。
How vast and unfathomable is the threefold alaya?
浩浩就像大海一样很浩瀚。
So in this Chinese say how that means as vast as the four great oceans.
那它是有三常，能常、所常跟直常。
So this eight consciousness that referring to alaya, that means the treasury. So this treasury will be able to store the storage and attachment to the storage.
那它为什么直常？就因为第七世常常执着为我。
So why is this the number 8 can have this function of store this data? That is because the seven consciousness always have the idea. So this seven consciousness has to do with the eight consciousness. That's why the eight consciousness is recording all the data, be the wholesome or unwholesome or the neutral one.
所以他职场也是被第七世冤枉。
So we can say that actually it has been deeply influenced by the seven consciousness.
那所以因为因为前面是浩浩 到所以它的淹深就七浪尽为有，淹就是因为第八次就像浩瀚的大海，所以是深不见底的大海，淹深就是深不见底。
So from these verses, it say that the generated by the winds of states, 7 waves of arise from its depths, just like a big ocean. You see, you have this a very big wave. So from there, we give a understanding that when you talk about a very big wave, a very big ocean, very vast one, it says that it's so deep that there's no bottom. You cannot see how deep and how bottom is the ocean.
那七浪就是前面的七世。
So what about the 7 wave? Actually, we are referring to the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind, which is the 6 consciousness, and also the mana. So because of the 8, then you have these 7 wave arises from it. That all are interrelated.
但是他们所对的境界呢，就好像风吹起来，风一吹起来，浪海就起了浪，就会有海浪。
So you see from these verses, we realize that it is due to all these 7 consciousness as well. It then give rise to the state. That means the mind rays of the Dharma.
所以那淹呢，就淹的是海呢，海水就好像海的种子一样，就是第八世的种子。那整个第八世就是比喻说海。
So you see, when we are referring to this ocean, it's just like the 8 consciousness. Of course, the 8 consciousness, we are referring to the seed because it is so bottomless. We don't know how vast, how big, how deep is this about this 8 consciousness. We can't conceive about it.
在这个受熏十种更生气。
So we have another verses which says that it undergoes perfuming and contains the seeds of the body with its organ and of the material world.
那这两个应该接下来去后来先做主攻。
And also after going and before coming, it is in control.
那意思就是说，第八世呢是受前面七世熏习的，种子都是给了第八世。
So you see, this data has been collected from where? From the 5 consciousness, 6 consciousness, 7 consciousness. In other words, it's influenced by these 3 category of consciousness.
那因为他一直他是没有停的嘛，因为他是横嘛，所以横长的，所以他一直都在收了以后他就保持着。
So you see, just now we learned that he have this character of what? Character of what you call continuous. So when you have this character of continuity, you preserve all the seeds of the karma. The seeds of karma referring the good, the bad, and the neutral.
那它更生气，就是说这些种子呢，就变现出我们身体跟外面的环境。
So you see, from this seed that we have already planted, it will give rise to what? All kinds of myriads of Dharma. That means to say, it will give rise to the manifestation of the physical body, be it into which realm, and also your surrounding in which world. So these two actually due to the seed.
这是为什么？比方说，我们都是在这样的一个环境里面，那因为我们的这个种子有一部分就同样的，所以我们叫做共业。用同样的种子，所以会在同样的地方做同样的事情。
So, for instance, why are we here together, gather together and listen to the Dharma? Because we have the collective karma. Collective karma in the sense of what we have collectively created the same seed. That's why it happens today. We can gather today and to listen to the Dharma.
那去后来先做主公，就是说这第八世呢。我们死亡的时候，神识是最后离开的，所以去后来先呢，就投胎的时候他先来的，神识先入胎的。
So this saying that actually when a person died, all the consciousness will left the body, that body, but except the 8 consciousness is the last who going to leave this body. But what about when the consciousness enter to form a new body? Then it is the 8 consciousness who enter the body first. So that is why we say after going and before coming, it is in control. This refers to the 8 consciousness.
所以做主公呢，他是生命真正的主人翁。
So that means to say he is the master of what is happening for our life.
所以也是我们这期生命的总报体。
So we see we have this sum total of the life, which is this body. So that itself says that the 8 consciousnesses have control in charge of who we want to be or who we're going to report as in this very life.
我们在离闭中的时候，我们每个人在离闭中的时候，一定是前5世先败坏。
So you see, when at the verge of dying, then how the 5 consciousnesses will decay and will be destroyed.
因为我们的色身会败坏嘛，那5世就跟着我们的色身，所以它就会跟着败坏，变得比较微弱，到最后就消失了。
So when a person at the verge of dying, our body become weaker and weaker. The consciousness, which is the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body, it become weaker and weaker, and eventually ceases. So this is happening at the first stage of dying.
所以其实我们在往生的时候，身体可能病痛，按理说我们应该不会感觉到痛。
老师再讲一下。
就说我们有些生病嘛，尤其 cancer 它是很痛，但是当你在离病中的时候，那个5世的感受已经少了，所以它不会痛。
Okay, so you see, it says that when the person is dying, maybe before that, before he have some pain because he's suffering from the illnesses. But in actual fact, the person when dies, he might not experience the pain anymore. Why? Because the consciousness of each of these 5 consciousnesses has been decaying or maybe ceases. So you might not experience any pain at all.
但是我们的第6，我们的心很苦，所以他就会一直感觉到痛苦。
So the problem is that our 6 consciousnesses, because your 6 consciousnesses will give rise to the idea of pain, and because of that, then you give rise to the idea of suffering.
所以到最后呢，前5世就完全没有，只剩下第6世。
So eventually, these 5 consciousnesses has nothing to do with 6 consciousnesses.
但慢慢的第6世又会消失。
And after which the 6 consciousnesses also disappear.
那第6世消失的时候，我们人就进入了灯觉，就好像昏迷一样。那时候就剩下第7世跟第8世。
So after this ceases of these 6 consciousnesses, we might in the dream state already and left behind the 7 consciousness and the 8 consciousness.
那你昏厥过了以后呢，你就进入中阴身了，就剩下8世。第8世离开了，就进入中阴身了。你这个色身就是无情的，就真的死了。
So after this 7 and 8 consciousness ceases, then you will enter a Bado state. Then what you left behind for this body is merely a corpse.
所以这是我们死前的状况。
So this is an idea on the experience at the verge of the dying.
这里还有一个很重要的，我们人死后依3种条件来受生。
So you say that after the death, a person is reborn according to 3 kinds of conditions.
随重，
So it depends on how heavy is the karma.
那就是你过去所造的业有多重，你就依这个来受生。
So the how heavy the degree of heaviness of the karma committed will have great influence on your rebirth.
那这个再就是就你的习气。
So the second one also depends on the habit.
因为我们常常做这个事情，我们的意识就会往那个地方去做，所以当你生命结束，你的习气还会往那个方向去做。
So it says that you see when we do something, so the driving force behind that we are doing certain karma, that is because we have this consciousness, the consciousness of the mind, which is the 6 consciousness. So if you keep on doing the same habit, then your consciousness is keep on repeating the frequency. So that itself says that when you have this repetition of the habit of this consciousness, that itself also decide where are you going to be reborn.
那第3个就随意，就随你的意愿。
So the third one depends on your will.
所以我们不要常常说，哎呀，我以后要我来世要怎么样，不要做这种都是种下你8识体里面，到时候你就会走那条路。
So make sure you don't make any negative aspiration that what you're going to do after this life or how. So that is not good. Why? Because you are planted a negative idea into your id consciousness.
所以有的故事，我们师父常常讲这个故事，不是说有济公禅师智公禅师他到一个家里去参加宴会，但人家是请客有结婚的，所以就请他到家里去住院。
So there's a story from Dharma Master Chuan Hua. It's about the Zhi Gong Master that he was invited to a dinner that to get some goodwill wish from him.
那他看了，他说：“哎呀，真是可怜，大家都来贺喜，因为他是结婚吧，还是生小孩，就大家都来贺喜，恭喜啊，恭喜！可是他看了，真是很可怜。”
So everybody is so happy because they are enjoying the event, enjoying the ceremony. But what the Zhi Gong Master said, oh, it's so pitiful.
他说六七炕上坐，六七戒主都在炕上面在那里坐着。六七戒主啊。他过去的眷属在
眷属
因为六七眷属都被杀了成肉，放在那个桌上。
So it says that the past siblings, past life siblings, they have been served as a dinner, as a food over the table.
那他只打父女鼓，他儿子一个小孩子很好玩，在玩那个打那个鼓。那你看一看，那个鼓是他爸爸的，他爸爸因为造业做了鲤鱼，把鲤鱼做成鼓，那孩子在那打。
So the kid is playing the drum. In fact, this drum, the skin is actually from the father who passed away.
然后那个孙娶祖母，孙子娶祖母。
So the grandson is married to the past grandmother.
他为什么这样？他就讲个故事，讲为什么？因为那个结婚典礼是夫妻，但是太太其实是前身是这个孩子的祖母。
So this is actually a marriage ceremony, but it says that about the relationship between the couples. That is one is the past life grandmother, one is the grandson.
他为什么？因为他祖母快要往生的时候，就抓了那个孙子的手，说：“哎呀，我谁都不担心，我就担心你呀！你这年纪这么小，也没有人照顾，这怎么办？”
Why is this happening? Because this grandmother at the verge of dying, she cannot let go because she is the one that the grandson is the one that she most concerned. So is wondering who is going to take care of you? That kind of thought.
然后，但是他真的放不下，就抓着这个孙子的手就死了。
So he holds the hand. She holds the hand of the grandson and pass away.
然后他到了阎罗王那里，阎罗王说：“哎，你既然这么疼爱你的孙子，你就回去做他的太太吧。”
So he went to the King Yama. King Yama instructed her to go and be born and become the wife to the grandson.
所以这就随意送生。
So this is what we call rebirth at the will.
那我还讲一个我自己碰到的。
Another story from Dharma Master Yi. She experienced herself.
以前在万佛城，那个时候我好像还是居士。那万佛城有个从别州德州来的一个女居士，她要求要见师父。
So those days when I was in the city to be, I think I'm still a lay person. Here comes a lady from the Texas state.
然后她说她见师父，那我就带她去见师父。那她就跟师父讲，她很烦恼。
So she wants to meet up with Dharma Master Chuan Hua. So Dharma Master Yi at that time still a lay person brought her to see Master.
然后师父他为什么？他说因为他很想修行，但是他先生对他很好，他实在没有办法放下。
So he speak to Sifu, say that I want to cultivate, but my husband treat me so nice. I couldn't let go of him.
他因为他在没有理由离开这个先生，因为先生对他实在太好。
So she has no reason to abandon the husband.
那师父就说， 因为他修行有点境界了，师父就说他过去生会想今生会想修行，因为过去生有修行。
So Burma Master Swampha acknowledged that why is it so? She gives rise to the idea of cultivation because she has gained some experiences from the Dharma practice, and not only that, in the past life she had practiced before.
那为什么他先生对他这么好呢？因为他有一次，他这个先生是他的妈妈。
So why is the husband treat her so nice? Because in one life, the husband in fact is her mother.
那他呢，那一次呢，她是个女孩子，可是体弱多病，常常生病。
So at that life, she is actually a lady, and then she is very sick, and she is not sick as well. She is also very weak.
然后后来他就很早就走了，很早就往生了。
So she died at a very younger stage.
然后他妈妈就很难过，就觉得他没有好好照顾这个女儿，所以他就一直希望要照顾她。
So the mom gave rise to this sorrow, the grief, and she felt that she didn't take care of her daughter very well. That I should take care of her. She has this thought.
所以呢，今生他妈妈就来做他的先生。
So in this life, then the mom turned out to be the husband to take care of her.
照顾他照顾得很好。
And been taking in good care.
我听了这个，我就跟师父讲说：“哎呦，这听了挺恶心的啊。”
So Dharma Master said to Dharma Master Swampha, said, "Wow, really disgusting."
师父说我们的六亲眷属，我们生生世世的那个六亲眷属，父为父母、兄长、夫妻都有。
So it's so gross that in our past life, these all siblings it can be parents, it can be husband and wife, it can be brother or sisters. So this is what has been actually happened.
所以师父说，对任何人都不要执着，对不对？对
对
任何人都不要执着。
So what the Dharma Master says that you don't attach to anybody.
师父说，甚至对师父都不要执着。
Even though don't attach to Dharma Master as well.
但所谓不执着，不是说就不要理他，不一样的。
So say that you don't attach doesn't mean that you don't listen to him.
因为我们执着就会，我们常看有些父母对子女或怎么样，他认为这个是他的，子女是他的。
So the idea of this attachment is referring to like somebody belongs to you because I own this son or I own somebody.
对，但是他的对他的生命就变成，其实每个人都有不同的生命，不管是谁生的，就像父亲跟儿子或母亲跟女儿，虽然是不同的，虽然是女儿是母亲生的，但是还是不同的生命体。
So you must always remember that this is all individual life, you see, so we don't get attached to.
那所以我们要明白这个道理。
You must always remember this theory, this principle.
这个亲人很容易犯这个事情，犯这个错。
We always have this what they call this mistake because we are so close to our siblings.
如果你们觉得有的话，要赶快改。
So if this happened, then you must quickly reform.
因为不只障碍到你自己，也障碍到别人。
It's not only is obstructing you, you also obstructing others. 是在修道方面呢，老师。
都是啊，你做事像我们就有，我们看到很多人，妈妈是非常信佛的，但是就对女儿啊，对孩子啊，到佛堂来做太多，他也不愿意。女儿儿子如果要出家，更不愿意，对不对？就会有这种想法。
So it says you try to but particular this obstruction to this cultivation. So the mom might control the children, like not come to temple or not practice, so etc.
所以我们看到很多这个就是因为太在乎了。那其实他是不同的生命体，他有他的生命，他有他的生活要过，你有你的生活要过，好好管好自己。
So
就好了。
this has been seen quite common. So he has his own independent life, and you has your own life. So just mind your own business. Don't be bothered too much.
还有没有问题啊？时间到了，有问题吗？因为明天只剩下明天而已哦。
师傅，我有个问题。
好，请问，要拿麦克。
师傅，我有两个疑问。不是问题啊，应该是疑问啊。
啊，
我们都讲了，一切事情都是无常的。
对啊。
但是这个第八世已经跟着，比如我啊，跟着无量界，跟着我来了，好像那个常
啊，
不是无常
啊，
这是我第一个疑问。
啊，
这以后这个第八世会消灭吗？如果会消灭，就是无常的。但是如果这个第八世不消灭，不是常的。
嗯，
所以这是我第一个疑问。
OK。
第二，你要
好，我先回答。
老师，我翻译一下。
好，先翻译。
So his question is about the idea of impermanence. Does this idea of impermanence apply to the understanding of the eight consciousness, which we actually learn that it is under continuity? Then how do we explain when it happens and when this eight consciousness ceases?
我们第八世的常是它常常在那里，但是它所支持的种子，它是不一样的，每天都不一样。就像你这一分钟跟下一分钟，你的种子都不同。你只要有变化，你种子也不一样。你今天的种子跟明天的种子也不会一样，所以这个种子是一直有变化的。那我们的业是跟着当时那个。你不可能一直都是那些种子啊。那你做新的，你只要一个念头，一个什么事情，它就是个种子，它就有变化。
So the answer is that you say this eight consciousness have this character of the continuously. So this refer to the character of continuity active. But the key point is that this eight consciousness always collect data, and the data is so dynamic, it's so volatile. From this moment to another moment, always change. It can be good, it can be bad. So from there, actually, it is also subject to the idea of impermanence. So when we say that impermanence, we are referring to the seed of the eight consciousness. It is so volatile. It changes from this moment to another moment. That means the person consciousness this moment, and the person consciousness then next moment will change already.
对，就是说，我第一个疑问是呢，当比如这类型，我就是死掉了，我死掉后，我往生的下一辈子不知道在做什么，可能是说有时候做人，所以我的第八世会跟过去了。
对啊。
然后第七世呢，比如下辈子那个第七世呢，跟我这辈子现在我这个人的第七世会是有关联吗？还是同样吗？还是根本不一样的？这个第七世、第八世我们知道了啊，就是因为我们的第八世的业让把我带过去下一辈子就是延伸了。但是这个第七世呢，我觉得这个疑问。
先翻了。
OK, fine. So he is asking that, you see, in this life, I'm a human, but supposingly in the next life, I become a cow. Then does this eight consciousness also carry forward to the next life when I be born to a cow? But what happened to the seven consciousness to this life when we have another new form of life, which is a cow? Does it follow, or you have any changes or anything different?
你刚刚要说什么？
没有，我有想到答案了，因为第七世是自取嘛，他是把第八世的资料认为是自己的嘛，那这个第八也给这个第七，它是一体的，只是为了方便明白，我们才讲第七第八嘛，它是一个生命体、生命能量来的嘛，所以当我们在投胎下一世的时候，是因为跟着我们的业力去投胎嘛，那么第七世永远都会在的，因为它有一个错觉，就是我所有。 所以把第8的一些资料就认为是他，所以他是生生世世是会有这个地气。所以为什么我们要学佛，就是要破这个地气，那么用第6来破地气，然后第8才能够转，就是要下功夫了。
非常好，
这是我自己的了解。
对对对，就是这样，就是这样。
So I translate. So is my understanding is that because these 8 consciousness will follow us on, even though to the life of now or to the next life, because it is the consciousness that collected all the data. That means the seed, whether it's the good or the bad or the neutral. So you're going to have manifestation. Then this number 7 will follow as well. But remember that this number 7 is the one who afflict number 8 to treat this idea of I. Then because of that, the existence of the life form will be there. It will be a driving force from one life to another life. So in fact, this 7, 8, or 6, or 5, in fact, is actually as one. I think for the school of this consciousness only practice Dharma, or we learn or try to learn so that we break it out. Only in the enlightenment state, then we can see things in without any word. 离世句解法为悲，就是当你开悟的时候，根本没有文字像，因为这些东西都是佛陀的巧密语 ，is a hidden and esoteric speech， 所以让我们方便用一个有相的。So this is from what we learn from the sutra is only merely a tool so that we'll slowly bit by bit to realize what is the truth, and then of course we have to practice. If we don't practice, we don't have this certification of the enlightenment. 阿弥陀佛。
很好，我们七世只有一个工作，只有一个作用，就是把第8世当成我，这样当成我的，就只有这样。所以他到哪里去，他就是做这个工作，他自己没有什么东西，他就这我的就好。所以第8世不管第8世变什么，都是他的，就这样。
So this 7 consciousness is the ego consciousness. It follows where does this 8 consciousness manifested, because from the seed of this or the manifestation of the 8 consciousness, it has this function that it will treat this 8 consciousness as I. So that is the function of the ego consciousness or the mana consciousness or the 7 consciousness.
还有没有问题呀？非常
好，就是说我们的我执业轻的时候呢，将我们的境更有意转向。
什么更有
境界那种外境，我们就可以转
它。应该是这样。其实我们在修，不管修什么，就是要去我执。那个佛陀，在开悟的，就是说一切众生都有佛陀的智慧德相，只因为执着跟妄想，就是这个执着。我们修了半天就是要去执着，没有别的。那这个就可以让你做3大阿僧祇劫的修行。
So from Mr. Tan saying that if we have lesser attachment, then we can confront any scenario in a wise manner. So of course, answer from Dharma Master is that the key point of learning the Buddha Dharma is to eradicate of the self-attachment. So you see, the Buddha, when attained the Sammasambuddhasa, he says that all the living beings are due to the false thought, the discrimination, and the attachment. That's why it causes such a big problem. So the key point is that we have to eradicate the self-attachment, the I.
还有个问题啊，明天是周五啊。
So tomorrow is 12:30 for 12点半。
12点，哎
，12点半。
不知道啊，是啊，12点半。
So tomorrow 12:30, we have a Dharma lecture, which is the last session already.
你们有问题的话，就明天好好的问。
So if you have any question, do take this opportunity to ask question, because tomorrow is our last session. And Dharma Master Yi, I think, will be going back to Canada.
我去 KL.
Yeah, going back to KL first.
And then 去 Australia.
Australia. So it's propagating the Dharma, learning the Dharma will.
OK， 那如果没有问题，我就回向。
So let's transfer the merits and virtues.
一切功德庄严佛净土。